In a small oil painting created about 1496 by the German Renaissance artist Albrecht Dürer, we see an elderly man kneeling in the wilderness. With a book in one hand and the other holding a rock to his chest, this man is surrounded by symbolic objects that point to his identity. This is Saint Jerome, an important figure in the early Christian church, who famously translated the Christian Bible from Hebrew and Greek to Latin, a version known as the Vulgate. While the subject matter, or iconography, of this work was surely important to the people for whom it was created, and who used it as a tool for their private devotion, the way in which the subject matter is presented is equally important. Looking closely at an artist's approach to their subject matter is central to a formal or visual analysis. While formal analysis is just one of many ways that art historians interpret art, it's arguably the basis for all other types of investigations. Think of visual art like a language. Just as an author uses words like nouns, adjectives, and verbs to compose a sentence, so too do visual artists use elements of form, like color, texture, and line, to compose a work of art. When we are analyzing the form of a two-dimensional work, like Dürer's painting, we get to think about how the artist suggests or denies aspects of our three-dimensional world, like space and volume. We also consider how forms are organized or composed on the picture plane. All of these choices inform the overall effect or content of the work of art. A formal analysis allows us to think about how aspects of form speak to us directly, without having to unpack all the meanings attached to subject matter, although that often comes next. In this work, we know immediately that Saint Jerome is the most important figure. Dürer communicates this importance through the organization of the composition, or the way he places the various elements in this image in relation to each other, and his use of shape and color. Jerome is placed at the center of the image. Looking beyond him to the surrounding landscape, we see that the forest to his right and the rocky hillside to his left frame him, forming a V shape, so that his upper body stands out against the sky. Now notice how Jerome is balanced on all sides by forms that reinforce his central placement. A lion resting just behind him is on a diagonal with the red hat and robe in the foreground. The dense outcropping of forest is, in turn, on a diagonal axis with the rushing stream in the painting's lower right corner. The crucifix supported on a tree stump to Jerome's left is parallel to the lion on his right. This compositional arrangement subtly reinforces Jerome as the focus, as does the simple fact that he is the largest form in the painting. Dürer continues to emphasize Jerome through his use of line. He creates an underlying structure for this scene by suggesting basic geometric shapes. Jerome's outstretched left arm and the sweep of his robe behind him suggest a triangle shape, anchoring the saint in space and helping guide our eyes to elements like the lion, the book, and the robes that are tied to Jerome's legend. This implied triangle contrasts with the inverted V shape created by the landscape and the sky. A strong horizontal line in the rocks behind him is echoed in the linear stretches of cloud just behind Jerome's head, providing a sense of balance and tranquility. Horizontal lines suggest a state of rest. Jerome wears a blue robe in icy cool hues that contrasts with the golden warmth of his skin and surrounding landscape. This blue is softly echoed in the sky above, reminding us of Jerome's focus on the heavens as he gazes intently into space, as though deep in thought. The highlights of Jerome's beard echo those of the lion's mane behind him and the silvery bark of the stump before him. His skin is rendered in tones found throughout the landscape. This hermit has clearly become one with his environment. The warm red tones of the garments in the foreground are repeated in the cover of Jerome's book, suggesting a connection between these robes and Jerome's writings. The repetition of these red tones in the sky above further unifies the composition and points to the interconnectedness of the many elements shown. All of this is rendered with Dürer's celebrated attention to surface detail. The rough texture of the tree stump, the wiry strands of Jerome's hair and beard, the smooth folds of cloth. All of these elements and more are painted with great care to differentiate the sensory environment that Jerome inhabits. Although we happen to know a lot about Dürer and Saint Jerome, formal analysis allows us to meaningfully engage with works of art for which we may have little or no contextual information. It is also useful for works of art that have no recognizable subject matter. We can still respond to the elements of form, like color, texture, and space, independent of subject matter and context. Of course, this is also a limitation. We can't always be sure that the conclusions we draw are those intended by the artwork's original maker or experienced by its original viewers. Formal analysis reminds us to take looking seriously.